Hello everyone, so today we are going to create a project for authenticating. It will be made on MVC. So let's name our project Login Logout. It will be on .NET Framework 4.5. Now project is created. Now let's create a class which will contain our properties. We'll be using EntityFramework for database connection. First of all, we are creating a user class, and this user class we will be using for authenticating. This user class will be containing our user ID, password, username and password, you can say. This is the password. Now we will be adding a user class for registration. It will contain other details of user like you can say name, first name, last name, etc, etc, etc. Yeah, I have already created a properties. I will be just copying and pasting them to save the time. Now we'll be creating a DBcontext class, which is used for which is used by EntityFramework to create or connect to database. The name here I'm using is DataContext. Here we will be using a namespace using system.data.entity. It's not giving me the option. I think EntityFramework is not installed in this project, so I am going to install an EntityFramework tools, package manager console, and enable migration. Okay, sorry, it will be giving an error. We need to install first of all NuGet package manager. After that we can enable it. Here's the command. Now EntityFramework is installed. Now enable migration. It will give again error because in this enable migration search for context class, but there is no context class currently in our project. We have created a class DataContext, but it is not a context class. We will be making it now after using a namespace and inheriting the class. Now we have used system.data .entity semicolon. And now we'll be inheriting a class DBcontext. And now if we use the command enable migration, then it will complete successfully. But first of all, let's do this part. The two classes we have made, user and registration. Now I'm adding them in a context class so that we can fetch data of user class or database class from the database, user class registration class from the database. Entity framework automatically, without writing any code, we can automatically insert, create or delete data, and this DB's context class helps in that, in this all this scenario. Now it's done. Now I will be using same command again as it is checked. Checking. Now I will be adding migration. Add migration, and we will be giving any name. Any name, it can be random name, but we normally give a name which we can identify, user friendly name. User add registration. It is just creating. It doesn't do anything. It is just creating a file, we can say, with the name of user and registrable. See this, you can see on the right. Yeah, and it contains all the query for creating a database, as you can see in the backend. Now when we click on update database command, this will execute this query in SQL format, and it will create a data table with the name, user and registration, as you can see here. These two tables are created with the help of this user and registrable register table. I'll check now both the tables. They are both empty, as you can see, null. I'm taking it very slow. I'm going to create a controller, and I will be using a scaffold which will automatically create a view, which will automatically create a view for editing, deleting, and we are now adding a template. In the controller, you must have seen this. I have selected a last part in the drop down, and that will automatically create all the views required and all the actions required, like index details, as you can see on the screen. Now in this route config file contains a default address which will open when we which is the first page, and I have changed the controller to registration, and action will be index, which is, you can see over here, default page action is index and the controller is registration. Now whenever we will be opening an application, the first page that will open is registration. See, all these views are automatically created with this, with all these actions, without writing any code. All my data is all my pages are created. Like, we can create new, we will click on create new, and we can insert any data. I'm not showing in detail about all these things because we are currently focusing on a user authentication part. This part we are showing you because I will let you know about this part. I will be showing you that we will not be able to this page. We will not be able to access this page after if we have not done any login. Currently we have not worked on authentication part, so we are able to access this page, but once we start working, we will not be able to access this page until we are logged in, until we enter our credentials. Here we are so you can see the action recommendation given by action link, what parameters it will use when we see that first action is a text, second is action, and third is controller. As you have seen, you can see the video, so you can obviously go back 10 seconds and see. This part is home. When we click on home, we will get a default page which we have put in a route file. Okay, a route.conf file which we have put. Whenever we will click on home, it will go to the same page. I'm just checking something over here. Here we'll be creating here this content text bar. The second is create, which is action item, and third is controller. As you can see, currently we have two controllers: home controller, registration controller. And home controller was by default, and we are not using it. Only we are having one controller, registration, which we have made. Now we have compiled it, and you will see that on the top there is home, create. On home we are clicking, we are going to a default page, which was it. On create we are having an option to create. Now let's create another controller. Here we have again third part. On this we will be creating a controller for login. Currently we have created a controller for registration. Now we are creating a controller for login user. And this controller will here we'll be using model user, and data context will be as obvious. We have single data context, and since we have selected model user, so it will automatically create a code for me to insert, update, delete users. Now we will be creating a third link, user, and it will be index. As default is index, and the controller will be this time the third controller. The controller we have made is user controller, so here we'll be writing user. Now whenever we will be clicking on this, we will be compiling it. Now when we will be clicking on this login page, as we have said on this page, as you have seen 10 seconds back, see when we are clicking user, it's opening the page, home page, which will list all the details. I am creating a user name Bravo, and password will be Bravo, and we have created, see, this is the default page we have set, and here we will be able to see the list of users whenever I will be clicking on user, and that list can be edited. We can edit it, see or delete. User index is action, and users is controller. Let me close. Next part is, see, we are currently able to access a user, create home, and a third one. Now I want that no one will be able to access these links until the user is logged in that authenticated. So first of all we'll be using authorize tag on the top of class, because we want each and every method. We want each and every method in this class to be authenticated, to be used only after authentication. So we have put the tag on class itself, or we can also put on the methods inside, like index or details, but currently we want all the methods in the class. So this time we will be using empty controller. Now we are getting a controller, login controller. this login controller we are creating because for authentication process, like the user controller we have created for the management of users, and registration controller we have created for management of registration, like registration of user, deleting a user, creating a user. And now similarly for login controller we are creating for authentication controlling. Here first of all we are adding a model, all the models in this. Now we have created a DBcontext class object, and we are able to create this object DBcontext because we have inherited login out dot models. Now I am adding a view, as you can see the process, and see in this we are using create button. Okay, we are using create scaffold template, and model class is user, so it will do work as per user class. User class contains properties ID and user ID, username and password. So it has created this page based on these three parameters: ID, username and password. Now I am modifying it for login purpose. As you know, for creating and for login we will be needing both same text box, so that I may not need to create things. So I have done this. Now in this web.config file I will be adding a authentication tag, and in this authentication tag I will be using mode, which is forms, and here after that in this we will be adding one more tag, which is login forms. I think it will be it will be login, I think. What is it? Let me check. Yeah, it will be login URL. And this URL will be telling that if a user is not authenticated, he will be redirected to which page? This page, index page of login controller. Index page of login controller is a form where he will enter his credentials. So first is controller name, login UI is login / index. Login is controller, index is action. Okay, as you can see this login / index. You can see the URL and see here username and password. Initially it was written create, because we used the template of creation, and then we modified the button text to login. Now let me create one more menu for logging in. I'm copying and pasting it, and I will be modifying it as per my need. Here the text will be login and action will be index as its default one. And now we'll be using a controller login, and this, as you can see, the recommendation. So this, now we are able to have a login page, and we are clicking on user. We are now able to log in. As you can see, it is not able to. It was not showing us the data. Now let's start our work. That when we enter our credentials, we want to post our data and then verify. So we are creating HTTP post method. After clicking on login button, this method will verify whether the credentials provided are valid or not. Okay, so now let's get started. If I will be using condition that whether the model is valid or not, so we'll be using validation method model dot model state dot is valid. Now if the model state is valid, then we'll again be using a condition if I'm using a bool variable because I need to store true. Condition is true or not. If it condition will be true, then the variable value will store true. If condition is false, then it will store false. So here we have used value, and now I will be using a context DBcontext object which we have used. DB.user is our class, and from that user we are checking all the users present. From that we will be checking a username is equals to the user.username. The user.username is coming from our login page which the user is entering, and x.username, x is such that x.username is fetching data from a database. Now the overall concept is database username is equals to the page, the data username which we are getting from page is equals to username. And the second thing is we will also be comparing password. If both are true, then if both will be true, then bool will store a value. Is bool value will be storing true. Now if here we'll be storing a value. If value, here we are writing value, and value is true or false. If above credentials are matched, then it will be value will be storing true, and if value will be storing true, then we will go inside if condition. Inside if condition we will be using our condition sense, and now we'll be using our new names method to store our authentication. So this is the class we'll be using form.authentication dot set auth cookie, and we will be setting the cookies to user.name. And now our session will after, and this cookie will be saved when the user is authenticated. After, if the condition is true, then only we will be setting a cookie, and if condition is not true, then we will not be setting any cookie. Okay, so the form.authentication is only executed when if value is true, and that value is true when user and password is correct. And when the username password is correct, after that we will be redirecting to that home page, registration page, which we had set to default. In the starting, you must be remembering that we'll be using that index action method and the controller name. So we are using a condition which is accepting two parameters. This is a registration controller, so we'll be using index and registration. So if the condition is true, then we will be storing a authentication key. So we will be storing a cookie, and we'll be redirecting the page to registration page. Now we will be able to see registration page. Now if the condition is not true, if the value is false, then what will happen? Then I want that it should show error. For that I am using model state.add model error, and here we'll be using two. First will be null, a string key will be null, and the second parameter, in the second parameter we will be providing our error thing, comma, and there are multiple parameters here, multiple methods. The second method we are using, which uses a string error message. In that we will be using invalid username and password or password. And when, as you can see, if value will be true, then we will be redirected to our home page, and we will not be going to model state.add model error or return view. We will not be going over here. Our code will not go on this portion. Okay, now I am writing a code for logout. This action method is for logout. Suppose that after login we need a logout page, so this button, from this link, we will be clearing from logout action method. We will be clearing our session key, which we have stored form authentication dot set auth key. Okay, now in this form authentication dot sign out, and this will clear our authentication key. Now whenever you will click on logout, it will clear the cookie, and we will not be able to log in on the registration page or user class or anything. It will directly redirect us to login page. And here also in the return action view, redirect to action view. In the return we are using redirect to action, and we will be redirecting to action view. Sorry, login view. Index is our action view and login is our controller. Oh, sorry, I forgot to write else on the top. So now I'm writing it. If condition is true, then we will be setting the authentication, setting the cookie, and redirecting the page to registration. If session is not true, if condition is not true, then we will go to else state and show a message. Okay. Now there in the menu section, let's create a tab from the layout. This is a login, and here we'll, as you know, if we are having, if a user is already logged in, then it should show logout and the name of the user. And if the user is not logged in, then the name of the user and logout button should not be visible. So to maintain this part, we are using this if condition. Here user, here we are verifying if user.identity dot is authenticated, means if the user is verified, then we will go into inside this, and we'll be writing we'll be showing a logout button. Okay, so I will be writing here logout in the text portion, string portion, and the action method will be logout, our method which I have made last logout, I think, and the controller will be login. Okay, and I also want to show the name of the user who is login currently. So the name of the user will be user.name. Let me write the code. Hello. It's not working. Why? Okay, comma. I'm missing comma. Now we're writing hello username. Whatever will be the username. It's not showing. I think we'll be using a list. Okay, we'll be using list here. It's not showing @user. It's not recommending. As you can see, we need to use a HTML tag over here. After that, I will be able to use the same thing. li, and then close the tag, and now I will be using same thing, and now it will work. @user dot identity dot name. It will show me the name. So the content shown will be hello dot bravo or whatever user, the name of the user, and this condition, this logout button and the username will be only visible when the user is authenticated, or you can say when the cookie is set to set. And this login action method will be visible only when user is not authenticated. Let me run this page, and you will get to know what I'm trying to say. I'm building this project now. See, this is, I'm clicking on the home page. It's not allowing me create user. It's not now on login page. See, it's allowing me. So you can see the difference between URL, both the URLs. You can see. Now login, I'm writing my username. I think, let me see what is the username and password. So table data. The password was Bravo. Username and password was Bravo. So I will be using entering my credentials Bravo and Bravo. Login. Now see, it has redirected me to home page. Okay, home page. Now I will be allowed everything. Create user, users. Everything is allowed for me now because I am authenticated. Okay, see, I am able to create user Peter123. I will be creating and I will be log out, and once I click on logout, the login button will be visible, as you can see this, and I am not able to click on any login, go on any page, home, create user. Now I am using the same password which I created just now. I am able to visible again, same thing. Alright, it's done. Thank you.